So in my last video, we discussed what I was doing, the way that I was investing my money, and that was more catered to folks that were 55 and under, okay? So let's now take a look at what you should be doing if you're within 55 to roughly 65. Now, 55 is sort of an arbitrary time frame, and a lot has to do of when your expected retirement date is. Of course, that could be a moving target. But 55 is usually that time frame where folks start getting a little bit more serious. That retirement clock is now getting louder and louder and louder. That long term starts becoming not that quite long anymore. So you're almost there. So if you're around 55 and 65, especially with this COVID pandemic, chances are that what you were trying to do or some of your investments or all of your investments have been impacted. So now is a great time to take a look at these things and try to get into a point where you form a real financial and retirement plan going forward. So let's go over a few points that you should start doing now at age 55. First, let's look, and you have to start looking at your retirement guaranteed income. So where is all your guaranteed income at retirement going to come from? And that is when you start taking a look and start taking a more aggressive look at Social Security, your pensions if you have one, and maybe another source of other sources of guaranteed income that you might have. All right. So what we want to do is get an understanding of those, get an idea of where those are going to come from, and try to find ways to leverage them or maximize them so that we are able to get a lot more money during retirement. So Social Security, for example, has a variety of different ways to claim that benefit. You can claim it, obviously, depending on if you're married or single. If you've been divorced, there's some opportunities there. And even if you had a spouse pass away, there's opportunities there. And there's also ways to play with it depending on how long and when you choose to get it. The same thing is with pensions. There's different ways to claim that pension. You also have the ability to claim it as joint or single. So we have to understand, hey, how do we leverage this? How do we maximize these? So when it comes time to use them, we know what exactly is going to be there. The other part is, now that we determined our guaranteed income is, where's our other income is going to come from? Because chances are that what's in your 401k, your IRAs, and your other investment accounts, that's where the rest of your income at some point will come from. So we have to convert those from a growth account to an income account. So we have to get an idea of what's in there. How much am I going to need? And based on that, how much is that going to realistically give me an income at retirement? Some of you have probably not been able to put a lot during your working years for a variety of reasons, or maybe they've been beat up a couple of times. So this is a good time to figure out, hey, what's in there? How much do I need? And what do I have to do to get there? Number three, it's important that you review your investments, okay? So what happens to us is that over time during our working years, life happens, we raise a family or raise kids, we get divorced, get remarried, and a lot of things happen, okay? So most of the times is we don't really pay attention to what's in these investment accounts. So what usually ends up is that we end up with 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 401ks, 5 different IRAs over here, then we invested in these 10 stocks over here. So there is no cohesiveness. There's no asset allocation. Chances are you have no asset allocation. You have no diversification at all. So this is a good time to review, okay, what do I have? Okay, and start setting up a plan to, again, put this in an asset allocation or in a diversified portfolio that can, again, be a real plan for your retirement. Now, be very careful here because chances are you went through 2008, 2009, your portfolio was beat up, it recovered. Now, again, you're into the coronavirus and your portfolio has been beat down again, possibly. So what I want you to try not to do is don't think that this is an opportunity that because stocks are depressed, all of a sudden you're going to bet it all on red and you think that you're going to shoot it out of the park and you're going to hit a home run and you're going to be made whole again. What I'm trying to say here, don't do anything stupid, okay? Because chances are that if you fail, you're not going to be able to recover 9.5 times out of 10. So be very careful. This is also an opportune time for folks that have done a really decent job at putting money away and have a pretty decent foundation to, you know what? Think about carving out a portion and protecting that portion for your future income. Think about taking that portion and putting it into a vehicle very much like an annuity that will protect that principal, provide you a pretty decent yield, a pretty decent growth during the time that it's in there, and then possibly at some time in the future can convert to a guaranteed income stream that can complement your Social Security and your pensions. Also, don't forget it's catch-up time, okay? If you think that you know that you're far behind, hey, this is usually if you're 55, your peak earning years usually. So it's a good opportunity to just, especially as the market is down, is just put a bunch away. Just put a bunch away, put a bunch away, okay? Also understand that because you're over 50, you're able to put additional dollars into your 401ks and IRAs. As of today, 2020, you can put an additional $6,500 into your 401k, or you can put an additional $1,000 into your IRA, all right? So that's called catch-up contributions. And lastly, don't ever ignore taxes, taxes, taxes. Listen, when you retire, taxes are either going to be your first or your second highest expense at retirement. And especially now with this coronavirus, the amount of money that government is throwing at the issue is immense, okay? So that compounded with the debt from before and compounded with the debt from before, compounded from the debt from before, it's only math, folks. At some point, this has got to get paid back. And the only way to get it back is through higher taxes. And I just can't imagine what taxes are going to be in the future. I always tell people the amount of taxes that you pay at retirement is directly related to where you put your money before you were retired. So if you were using 401ks and IRAs, guess what? Now when you take out your Social Security and your pension, 100% of your income is pretty much taxable. So if things go the way they're going tax-wise, you're going to be at a lot higher tax bracket than you were during your working years. And most people are, by the way, but you know, at some point taxes just are going to have to go astronomically high. So consider that, and consider that during this time, at least for the next 5 years, as we know that taxes, at least now, are at their lowest, okay? Consider formulating a strategy to convert some of those taxable accounts into tax-free accounts. So with that, those are a few points that that you should follow at about this time frame. And if you have any questions, look down below and either call me or send me an email. And thanks for tuning in to Financial QB TV.